Mabuhay! Welcome to ASEAN Today. I'm Ivan Merina of the Philippines GMA Network in Manila.
Salamat berjumpa. I'm Dalton Tanonaka of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta, and this is your monthly look at the dynamic Southeast Asia region. We begin this month here in Indonesia, where voters had to decide between two very different presidential candidates, and they went face-to-face in several televised debates before the July 9th election. Former Special Forces General Prabowo Subianto talked about protecting natural resources, while Jakarta Governor Joko Widodo pitched the power of human resources. Both men hope to steer the G20 country to greater economic growth, this year projected to be near 6%. Stepping down after 10 years is Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. We hear from the candidates in our Hot Seat segment later in this program.
Cambodians working illegally along the border with Thailand flooded back home on fears of a crackdown by the Thai military. 16,000 Cambodians crossed back across the border from Pot Phet in Sa Kaeo district in the second week of June, when Thailand's military took control of government in May. Leaders said they would take action against migrants entering the country illegally. Thailand has a huge migrant labor force with many workers lacking proper documents. Most are from Cambodia and Myanmar, where wages are lower. Members of the Akbayan Party in Manila marched to the Chinese consulate to denounce what they said were incursions in the South China Sea. The protest on June 12 was held on the country's 116th anniversary of independence from Spanish colonialism. Some of the group dressed as revolutionaries representing the Katipunan forces that fought the Spaniards at the end of the 19th century. The day after that protest, China released video showing a Vietnamese vessel ramming two Chinese Coast Guard ships in the disputed waters. Vietnam accuses Chinese ships of causing the damage. China had deployed 71 vessels as a security cordon around an oil rig operating in the South China Sea.
Families of the passengers of the missing Malaysia Airlines jet began raising money for information and further investigation of Flight 370. The campaign aims to raise at least $5 million to encourage a whistleblower to step forward. No trace of the aircraft has been found despite a massive air and sea search, and is believed to have crashed in the Indian Ocean. 239 people were aboard that flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing.
Cambodia's ancient metal working tradition was almost wiped out by the Khmer Rouge in the late 1970s, but it's now making a comeback, fueled by tourist demand for souvenirs. ASEAN Today's Prisma Kinanti reports.
Cambodian silver and coppersmiths are producing some of the finest work in Southeast Asia, fueled by a booming market in tourist souvenirs. Much of the production comes from artisans at Kampong Luang, 30 kilometers northeast of Phnom Penh. The metal work has been passed down from generation to generation. Approximately 300 families is working in 30 workshops. They produce thousands of items handmade copper and silver every year.
ចេះមកគឺតាំងពីអាយុប្រហែលជា13 14ឆ្នាំខ្ញុំបានទៅរៀនហើយខ្ញុំបានចេញមកធ្វើប្រកបមុខរបរជីវកម្មជាងចម្លាក់នេះនៅក្នុងផ្ទះរបស់ខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់ខ្លួន
Kampong Luang villagers began to produce silver ornaments for the royal court when Odong was served as the Cambodian capital between AD 1618 and 1866.
កាលពីមុនមកចម្លាក់យើងនេះគឺគេធ្វើដើម្បីថ្វាយតែប្រកូណាទេថ្វាយស្ដេចហើយបន្តក្រោយមកហ្នឹងក៏ជាងចេះតែបែកខ្ចាយទៅជាប្រកបជាអាជីពចម្លាក់នេះដើម្បីលក់ជាអាជីពប្រចាំគ្រួសារហើយបន្តក្រោយមកទៀតមកចម្លាក់យើងចេះតែបែកទៅយើងមានការវិវត្តពីធម្មតាទៅរីកចម្រើនទៅយើងអាចច្នៃបានតាំងពីប្រាក់ពាន់មាសយើងធ្វើរូបភាពប្លែកសម្រាប់ឈ្មួញដែលគេត្រូវការ
In a month, this workshop can process and sculpt from 50 to 60 kilograms of metal. Most of the copper is sourced in Cambodia, but silver is mostly imported from China, Malaysia and Singapore. Copper items are made from scrap metal, both for around $3 a kilogram. The pieces of scrap are melted down in a homemade charcoal burning furnace. The molten metal then poured into an iron cast and cooled in a waterlogged field. Villagers are rarely need to market their products as high demand made them directly sell the product to dealers who beat the path to their door. Prisma Kinanti for ASEAN Today.
More ASEAN Today is coming up shortly.
The presidential candidates went face-to-face in Jakarta, choosing between two very different men. That's next.
Sekarang pertanyaannya.
Hello, you're watching ASEAN Today. I'm Ivan Merina in Manila.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. The two teams who want to lead Indonesia faced off in a series of emotional debates. Former Special Forces General Prabowo Subianto is making his third try at political office. Jakarta Governor Joko Widodo wants to move up. The candidates are in the hot seat, with Widodo first explaining his support of diversity.
Keberagaman kita ini saya kira sudah final ya. Kita tidak sebetulnya kami sudah tidak ingin mengungkit-ungkit itu lagi karena itu sudah final. Sehingga waktu kita mengangkat, saya berikan contoh konkret, waktu mengangkat Lurah Susan di Lenteng Agung yang sudah melalui sebuah seleksi dan promosi terbuka, baik kompetensi manajerialnya, kemudian manajemen leadership, manajemen administrasinya sudah dilalui semuanya. Kemudian ada yang memprotes dan demo agar lurah itu diganti karena agama mayoritas yang ada di kelurahan itu adalah berbeda dengan agama yang dianut oleh lurah itu. Saya sampaikan bahwa itu sudah final dan tidak bisa diganggu-gugat lagi.
Pak Hatta mengungkapkan tentang visi misinya yang saya kutip, melindungi rakyat dan berbagai bentuk diskriminasi, gangguan, dan ancaman serta menjunjung tinggi hak-hak asasi manusia. Itu dari Bapak. Kedua, dari Pak Prabowo mengatakan, tiada pengikut yang salah, hanya pemimpin yang salah. Sekarang pertanyaannya, bagaimana Bapak ingin menyelesaikan pelanggaran hak asasi manusia masa lalu dan menjaga hak asasi dipertahankan pada masa datang? Itu aja.
Dalam pelaksanaan tugas sebagai prajurit, manakala kita melaksanakan tugas dengan sebaik-baiknya, yang menilai itu adalah atasan. Jadi saya mengerti Pak, arah Bapak. Tidak apa-apa, tidak apa-apa, ya. Saya tidak apa-apa, tetapi saya ada di sini. Saya sebagai mantan prajurit telah melaksanakan tugas dengan sebaik-baiknya. Selebihnya atasan yang menilai. Apakah saya, kan arah Bapak kira-kira gitu, bahwa saya tidak bisa menjaga HAM karena saya pelanggar HAM. Kira-kira itu kan Bapak arahnya. Iya kan? Padahal Bapak tidak mengerti. Justru kami ini di tempat-tempat yang susah, di mana-mana sering harus ambil tindakan untuk keselamatan rakyat Indonesia yang banyak.
Kalau saya sih, menurut saya Prabowo lebih baik ya. Karena soalnya lebih nggak, dari debat kemarin itu nggak terlalu menjatuhkan lawan gitu. Dia lebih mengekspos visi misi dia sendiri gitu.
Yang saya lihat perdebatan semalam, program yang dikeluarin Pak Jokowi agak lumayan bagus. Walaupun dua-duanya bagus, tapi agak sedikit kurang ketegasan aja dari Jokowi. Kalau dari Prabowo sendiri saya akuin emang dia lumayan ketegasannya ada. Cuman cara pandang orang beda-beda ya. Ketegasan itu kadang dianggapnya hanya sekedar otoriter aja.
Ya cukup menarik untuk pembelajaran ya, untuk pembelajaran generasi muda, untuk generasi penerus juga, dan untuk pembelajaran politik yang paling penting.
If neither candidate wins more than 50% of the vote, a runoff election will be held in September. More ASEAN Today is coming up shortly.
We profile a fashion designer who keeps Muslim women faithful and stylish. And then to Myanmar for a tour of the capital's landmark temple. That's all next.
This is ASEAN Today.
And we are coming to you this month from Jakarta and Manila. The business of Islamic fashion is booming, with designers creating stylish pieces that conform to religious standards. ASEAN Today's Andita Winda profiles the Indonesian designer Jenna Hara.
Many Muslims believe that women must wear a hijab or headscarf to protect themselves from unwanted attention. Others deem the garment unfashionable and dated. But there's a young designer who has bridged both worldviews, turning the hijab into stylish and edgy designs for women of faith.
Saya mengatakannya modern Muslim brand. Kenapa? Karena memang di sini kita punya konsep mix and match gitu. Jadi bukannya baju Muslim yang biasanya kan normalnya tuh kan busana Muslim itu satu paket, ada kerudungnya, atasannya, bawahannya gitu. Tapi kalau di sini kita nggak begitu. Kita jualnya per piece.
Jenna Hara Nasution opened her first outlet in Kemang, South Jakarta 3 years ago. The 29-year-old believes she got her talent for design from her mother, celebrity designer Ida Royani. Under the Jenna Hara brand, she creates modest and colorful new forms of the headscarf.
Dan karena modelnya pun juga bisa dibilang bukan yang Muslim tradisional ya, tapi orang yang tidak berhijab pun sebenarnya bisa pakai produk kita gitu. Nah, kalau pilihannya memang banyak sekali, mulai dari kerudung, basic, ada ya top, ada bawa bottom juga, dress, semuanya ada di sini, bahkan sampai sepatu.
Her fashions have graced the runway of the 2012 Hong Kong Fashion Week. She targets women in the 20 to 50-year age bracket and markets through retail outlets and social media. Prices range from 50,000 rupiah or $4.16 for a shawl to 1.5 million rupiah or $132 for a dress.
Soalnya yang pertama aku suka desainnya tuh simple tapi elegan, dan entah kenapa kalau dipakai jadinya bagus aja gitu di badan. Kelebihan yang utama sih soal kualitas, jahitannya lebih rapi dibanding yang lain, terus bahannya juga lebih bagus.
Kalau aku sih sukanya yang dari basic-basicnya sih, kayak shawlnya, terus yang kan dia punya shawl yang langsung pakai, jadi simple banget buat yang kalau males yang rame-rame gitu, aku sukanya pakai shawlnya Jenna Hara. Aku suka banget soalnya rapih jahitannya, dan juga warna-warnanya juga aku suka, pilihannya banyak banget. Aku suka, jadi kalau aku mau nyari sesuaikan sama bajuku, itu ada semua di Jenna Hara gitu. Karena aku suka kesini.
With her 20 employees, Jenna Hara produces 100 garments a month. She has 4 outlets across the country and plans to expand into the European market.
Marketnya sudah keluar ya, ke Singapura, Malaysia, terus juga di luar Eropa kita juga masukin ke sana juga, misalnya ke Paris, ke Jerman.
In 2010, Jenna Hara and a few friends established the Hijabers Community, a place for women to strengthen their faith and their friendships.
Jadi Hijabers Community itu adalah satu komunitas di mana kita mengumpulkan orang-orang berhijab yang mana mereka ini punya latar belakang yang berbeda gitu. Nah, alasannya kenapa kita kumpulin adalah kita pingin menunjukkan gitu ke masyarakat gitu bahwa orang-orang yang berhijab ini tidak punya batasan lah dalam berkarya.
With more than 100 members, the community holds numerous religious events each month, including classes on how to wear the hijab. Jenna Hara hopes to inspire women to see that they can look modern and fashionable while staying true to their Muslim faith. Andita Winda for ASEAN Today, Jakarta.
Here are several events on the ASEAN calendar. The Nat Spirit Festival 2014 will be held from August 4th to the 7th in Myanmar's Swangbron village in Madaya. Bali will host the Dreamfields Festival on August 16th at the Garuda Wisnu Kencana Cultural Park. and the Singapore Garden Festival 2014, set to run at Gardens by the Bay from August 16th to the 24th. A replica of Myanmar's towering gold temple in Yangon stands equally tall in the country's capital. ASEAN Today's Nongol Darapati is our guide.
Upatasanti Pagoda is also called the Peace Pagoda, a prominent landmark in Nai Pi Tao. Standing 99 meters tall, it's nearly the same size as the world-famous Shwedagon Pagoda in Yangon. White elephants, considered sacred and deemed auspicious in local lore, welcome visitors from their shelter next to the pagoda. There is usually a $5 entrance fee, but no one asked for money during our temple tour. Visitors need to dress properly and remove their footwear while entering the sacred grounds. Buddha and animal statues are placed throughout the pagoda. Buddhists wash the statues while saying their prayers. Non-Buddhists are also welcome to perform the ritual.
Because I am Buddhist and this pagoda is popular here and feel like Shwedagon in Yangon is Buddhist, is the symbol of Buddhist and Myanmar. It's very harmony mixed.
Completed in 2009, this structure was designed to celebrate Nai Pi Tao's faith, evoking Myanmar's Buddhist and royal roots. For those wanting a visual history, the interior perimeter of the pagoda features inscribed murals depicting various scenes of traditional legends and stories. Nongol Darapati for ASEAN Today.
It is feedback time, and your feedback is very important to us. Joining us with this month's comment, as usual, is Duridi Siti Chanya of the ASEAN Secretariat. What are viewers saying?
A little bit of everything, Dalton. Catherine, for example, tweeted this. I've just watched ASEAN Today for the first time. We hope it's not your last, Catherine. Another tweet, this one from Nurani. You have to follow this program, then you can learn more about ASEAN. That's why we do what we do, Nurani. And Rubianto posted this on our Facebook page. This is the program which I like very much indeed. Good choice, Rubianto. Let us know what you're thinking out there. Email us at ASEANTodayTV@gmail.com. Post something on our Facebook page or tweet us at ASEANTodayTV. And that's all for this month, Dalton.
All right, Dee, thank you very much. Yvonne?
Dalton and Dee, a pottery maker in Vietnam, cashed in on the World Cup fever. Vuong Hang Nhat created ceramic replicas of the coveted World Cup trophy. It's made of plaster of Paris and is spray-painted gold to make it look like the real thing. The craftsman sold his replicas for 70,000 Vietnamese dong each, or $3.50. If you can't win one, make one. And that's ASEAN Today for this month. I'm Ivan Mayrina from the Philippines GMA Network in Manila.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka of the Indonesia Channel in Jakarta. Thank you for watching, and please join us again next month.